Good morning, everyone. My name is Sheila Dixon. I'm the Executive Director of the Northern Virginia Black Chamber of Commerce, and I would like to thank everybody for joining the call today. We have an exciting conversation where we will address technology's impact on minority business. Today, we're going to talk about cybersecurity, and is this a small business concern? This is a concern for all businesses, not just IT businesses. Whether you're a micro business or a government contractor, please use this series to advance your level of security as well as protecting your company and the community. So at this time, I would like to introduce Trina Reuben. She is the managing partner of Acquisocre Research, and she is my co-host for today. So welcome, Trina.
Thank you, Sheila. I am so happy to be a co-host for today's panel. My company, Acquisocre Research, does research related to workforce and training development issues for cybersecurity professionals, as well as development of algorithms that could be used to identify cybersecurity threats. So today's topic is of personal interest to me, and I am really excited to be able to talk to the panelists today. And before we get into our topic, we'd like to take a moment to hear from our sponsors, and we'll start with Paul Davis.
Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you for attending this series workshop. This is a very important topic. The ATC, the Alliance Technology Consortium, and the Northern Virginia Black Chamber of Commerce, as the co-hosts have stated, this is one of those things that everyone who does anything with computers is being confronted with. Whether you're dealing with now on the dark web, ransomware gangs, literally ransomware gangs, nation state attacks, or now they even have created multi-level marketing where if you come on as a lower amateur attacker, they'll take you under the wing and help you develop your product and attack. It's really crazy. So to CDP and Associates, this is a very important topic. And as we often say, and you probably hear it in some of the other series, we talk about the importance of not just cybersecurity, but cyber resilience. As such, one of the incentives to toughen up and strengthening your network defenses, anyone who contacts either the Alliance Technology Consortium or the Northern Virginia Black Chamber of Commerce, we will make available to them free some of the key websites that at least will help you begin your journey. So feel free to reach out to either organization, and we'll make those websites, trusted websites, available to you so that you can start your evaluation of your organization and in this journey. And it's a continual journey. And so again, I'd like to thank all of you for attending. I'd like to thank my fellow co-sponsors and of course, my partners in the ATC and the Northern Virginia Black Chamber of Commerce. Have a great series.
Hi, I'm Barry Duvall, President of the Virginia State Chamber of Commerce. Thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of this program and to bring you a greeting on behalf of the 26,000 members of the Virginia Chamber of Commerce. You know, it's an exciting time to be in business in the Commonwealth as we come out of the pandemic and begin to recognize that technology is going to help us transcend into a new economy. The fastest growing sector of our economy is the knowledge-based economy. So I'm pleased to see your panel focusing on technology and specifically technology's impact on minority businesses. Virginia has been recognized as a leader in cybersecurity and a leader in technology across the United States. You may not know, but over 50% of the world's internet traffic passes through Virginia every day. We are a hub for technology centers and data centers, and we are a hub for cybersecurity and technology workers. I'm really pleased that the Virginia Chamber can partner with the organization sponsoring this event in order to be a part of this program. I want you to know that we are supporting a couple of initiatives that we think will help minority businesses grow and prosper. The first is money for grants to help businesses start up. We think this is an important part and should be provided in a way that will be constructive for businesses across the Commonwealth of Virginia, including our minority communities where access to capital has not always been easy. I also want to say that we think mentorship programs are important. And I want to compliment the Virginia businesses that are coming alongside small businesses throughout the Commonwealth to assist them in growing their business. I also want to recognize the organizations like the Northern Virginia Black Chamber of Commerce that we've been partnering with to advance their mission, as well as help them reach communities across the Northern Virginia area. And I also want to thank the Alliance Technology Consortium for participating in today's program as well. So in closing, thank you for allowing me to speak for a few minutes in your program. I hope that you find it constructive, thought-provoking, a brighter future for you and your business as you grow in the Commonwealth of Virginia. Have a great panel discussion.
And today's event, again, wouldn't be possible without the help and collaborative partnerships of the Alliance Technology Consortium, the Virginia Chamber of Commerce Foundation, CDP and Associates LLC, and the Fairfax County Economic Development Authority. So thank you.
Okay, so we would like to start our discussion today by first introducing our panelists. I would like to begin by introducing Mr. Mark Cannady, who is the founder and CEO of the Jelani Networks company. Welcome, Mark.
Thank you very much, Trina. I'm happy to introduce myself. Again, my company is the Jelani Networks company, and we work with the ATC. It's always a pleasure to speak with everyone about cybersecurity and cybersecurity resilience. What I would like to do is just let you know, I'll be happy to speak on some of the things that we have today regarding small businesses and cybersecurity resilience. Thank you.
It's a pleasure having you here with us today, Mark. Next, I would like to introduce Mourad Oulid-Aissa, who is the Chief Technology Officer of Juniper CybSec. Welcome.
Hello, and yes, I am Mourad Oulid-Aissa, and thanks to the Northern Virginia Black Chamber of Commerce and Alliance Technology Consortium for hosting this event today. I'm currently Chief Technology Officer for Jupiter CybSec and also Enzo Technical Security Services. Both companies are small enterprises, and both are minority-owned and veteran-owned enterprises. Jupiter CybSec focuses on cybersecurity services, and Enzo TSS focuses on physical and technical security services. Also, I would like to mention, in parallel with these roles in industry, I'm chair of the Information Systems and Technology Department with South University. South University has 10 ground campuses, mostly in the Southeast region, including 2 campuses in Virginia, in Richmond and Virginia Beach, and 1 online campus as well. Thank you.
Welcome, Mourad. And now I would like to introduce Howard Holton, who is the founder CEO of Holton Corporation. Welcome.
Well, thank you, Sheila. Good morning, everyone. Just briefly let you know that I've had over 40 years experience in securing federal government computer systems, both large mainframes and small microcomputers. About 10 years ago, I retired from the government, and I decided to to modify a corporation I was already a part of, the Holton Corporation, and start to supply cybersecurity methodologies to small businesses and other companies who might need my assistance. So that's all I have, Sheila.
It's a pleasure having you here today, Howard, and thank you to all of our panelists for joining us today. We would like to begin our discussion with our first question. Our first question is, why should small businesses, especially minority-owned small businesses, be concerned about cybersecurity? Or is this only a concern for medium to large companies? I'd like to give the first round to Howard. Can you please give your response?
My response is that the small business community, and when I speak to this, I'm thinking of a business as small as one person to 500 people. One way to determine whether or not they should be concerned about cybersecurity is to look at the company and determine whether or not there are threats to your business, determine whether you're vulnerable to those threats, which in turn could equal a risk to your business. And the risk is something that you can manage. And to me, think of it that in that form, and it's easy, maybe not so easy, to follow through and actually start a program where you can evaluate, again, risk, vulnerabilities, and how you can reduce those risks and keep them to a minimum and recover if someone should filter what you have in place and attack your system.
Thank you, Howard. And I would now like to pass the question to Mourad.
Sure. So first, a business of any size needs information systems to operate. So as a small business, you depend on critical assets that you use internally in your enterprise, with your customers, with your partners. So for example, if you are prime or a subcontractor in a project, or with your suppliers to run your business, right? So you need to think about your information systems as all the knowledge, the facts, the data, capabilities, even personnel that your company relies on for its day-to-day operation. So when you think that way, then you can start assessing the vulnerabilities to your critical assets and any threats that may exploit these vulnerabilities. So basically, a vulnerability is a weakness in your information systems, as I defined earlier, and that may allow a threat to materialize and cause harm. And a threat is a potentially harmful event on a target information system. So again, think of your information systems as the sum of your small business critical assets. So a threat is anything that can exploit a vulnerability. So now when you think in those terms, you can view cybersecurity in a way synonymous to information system security as all the measures that you adopt to guard your small business's assets against threats. So in cybersecurity, we deal with vulnerabilities and threats, and also the notion of risk. So risk is simply understood as the likeliness of exploitation of vulnerabilities by possible threats. So given that you have some safeguards in place. So now there are several factors that you need to recognize when considering what it makes, why it makes sense for your small business to plan a cybersecurity strategy. So obviously any event, which could be a cyber event that affects your critical assets, may impact your business. But one important negative impact could be legal liability. So legal liability could be damaging to a small business because it may add legal fees and penalties to a disruption of operations. So regulations and privacy laws provide a check and balance, to earn stakeholder trust and prevent disclosure of personally identifiable personal data. So for example, personal health data or financial information. And so you need to be aware of such regulations that are relevant to your business. And currently, all states in the US have data breach notification laws that require a company to disclose certain facts of a breach to either the affected subject, so typically your customers, or a state authority, so like the Attorney General of the state, or both. And then for data breaches caused by third-party vendors, that could be the case. Then all the claims really need to be specified in the service level agreements that you have with this third party. And next, what are some of the common threat factors that you need to think about in cybersecurity planning? First, you need to think of the basic protection of your critical assets, right? So these include physical and technical safeguards to protect your facilities, any infrastructures you may have. You may not have a lot of infrastructure, but even if you consider just the computing systems that you have, these you would include in your infrastructure. And of course, your data. But you can't apply technical controls to human behavior. I think we're going to talk a lot about this today. And ways to breach your information systems may be caused by an employee that creates some opportunity. For example, by misconfiguring a software tool or misusing some communication systems, or through email, or the most common attack vector is responding to a social engineering attack. So no matter how advanced the technology you're implementing and how simple your processes, if people are not aware and if they're not committed, individually to that security control, then any plan you have will fail. Compromise or negligent insiders. So these could be employees or people working with the company, can create opportunities for hackers by misusing information systems or falling for a social engineering attack, as I mentioned. And then you have the IoT, so Internet of Things world factor. So in the IoT world we live in, we deal with multiple devices that are not always designed or manufactured to enterprise-grade security standards, and so you need to be aware of the impact of introducing these devices in your network. So typically you will have at least a wireless network. The other factor is the cloud services. So which is very likely as a small business that you'll have to address cybersecurity issues with your cloud providers, again, as part of your service level agreements. And finally, the last thing I'll mention is that one of the things that are relevant to your cybersecurity planning as a small business, and that's protecting your supply chain. So the three principles of cybersecurity: protection of confidentiality, integrity, availability, these are all crucial also to protecting your supply chains.
Thank you so much. That's all very relevant and helpful information. And I would like to now ask the same question give the question over to Mark. Why should small businesses, especially minority-owned businesses, be concerned about cybersecurity?
Thank you. The answer to the question is simply yes. You need to be concerned about cybersecurity, whether or not it's for your personal assets or either for your small business or large business, but particularly we're talking about small businesses here. And I just like to kind of keep things simple so people can understand it, and they try to make it seem like it's mysterious. It really isn't mysterious. The CNN poll has come out and stated that, most people have been hacked. They've fallen prey to email scams, social media, ransomware. Everybody's had malware on their computers for their personal computers, and you've also seen it at work. And also intrusion into your websites. But individuals who, when this happens to them, it brings their computer down or it messes up their cell phone. But it can, be a problem. More importantly, it could be a problem for them if it's some sort of identity theft. But for small businesses, it is devastating. Devastating in the sense, if you lose your data is your customers. If they get into your financial information and they're able to get to your financial assets, that's all devastating for a small business, in particular for minority business, because we're not that big. We're smaller businesses. We're on a growth pattern, and we can't afford or don't bounce back as easily. Particularly in these times of COVID, you probably have already heard 40% of African American businesses, minority businesses, have gone out of business. So definitely you can't deal with that. And other organizations like Symantec, they try to make it clear to people that law enforcement are saying that, cybersecurity experts confirm that small businesses are now the victims of at least half of all security breaches. And, they're the victim because they go after people where they're the easy target. They're the soft target. They're the companies that's not most likely to have the resiliency, but they do have assets that hackers and other folks and nefarious folks on the web will use in order to enrich themselves. So yes, you definitely need to have cybersecurity. AT&T said 53% of companies with fewer than 50 employees place a high priority on cybersecurity compared to just 2/3 of the larger ones and only 30% of the smaller companies. So that's a very interesting fact. And the reason why I brought that up, because 53% fewer than 50 employees, most smaller companies are mom and pop shops. You're talking between 1 and 10 employees. So they are right in that sweet spot where they're getting the attacks, and the vector plane, you need to reduce it so you do not have your assets compromised by lack of cybersecurity resilience. And another thing about small businesses, as we know, are the backbone of the country. They produce the most jobs. They're the ones that are going to bring the country back from where it is, particularly minority businesses. You look at women-owned businesses, the fastest growing businesses in the country, Latino-owned businesses, the fastest growing population and business owners also in the country, and just looking at small businesses across all the constituencies. These companies are driving the American economy, especially when you look at what this SBA is doing with the American Rescue Plan, putting things out there, paycheck protection program. You look at the restaurant revitalization programs, SBA relief, all targeting small business. The government put $1.2 trillion out there in order to help small businesses specifically. And I've only named a couple of those programs. So the answer to the question is yes, you need to be concerned. That's all I have to say for now. I'm not gonna try and over talk it. I'll wait till I'll come back around.
Thank you. This is amazing and great information. And all of this kind of leads us into question 2. Have you or anyone who has a minority-owned business been attacked and or survived a cybersecurity attack? I think more and more business owners are talking about it. And so I would like to pass this over to Mr. Cannady.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry, go right ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Happy to come back on the scene again. Yes, I think everybody has known someone who either personally or either their business has been attacked. And you've been attacked if you have had your password compromised, or if you've gotten notices saying that your email has been compromised, or if you've gotten notices from your bank or either from some other institution saying we want to go to multi-factor authentication because their system is either being compromised, but if their system's been compromised and you're a customer, you're doing business with them, by connection, you're compromised. And that's the reason why they're telling you that. And I don't need to go into all the facts about OPM being compromised in the past, this large corporation, that large corporation. Yes, people have been compromised. I don't know anyone that I've ever met who's using a computer or a cell phone who has not been compromised. You know, cybersecurity and small business, the percentage of small businesses, you know, having attacked 60%, you're seeing it on the chart right there. Cybersecurity attacks are aimed at all companies. In 2011, 18%, jumping up to 36% in 2014. So from my standpoint, everyone's been attacked, but the question is, how are you going to protect your business, right? How are you going to protect your business? The Small Business Administration understands that. They understand that you need to do everything you can do to use the tools in order to reduce the attack vector for your company or for your personal assets with these particular tools: antivirus tools, malware, anti-spyware, making sure that you're updating your passwords and using strong passwords that are at least 12 to 14 characters long, using a mixture of low, upper and lowercase letters and special symbols in order that you don't get hacked. Because if you don't do that, or if you're using the same password on multiple accounts, that's just not a good idea. And more importantly, everybody has some sort of Wi-Fi in your office. When you install that Wi-Fi, go ahead and change the password. Don't use the default password that on your system for your office Wi-Fi. Go ahead and make it something unique and to your employees that they have. And you want to secure your mobile assets in the same way. SBA administration is talking about that. With Atlantic Magazine, they are saying some of the first steps that are important is to implement basic company-wide protocols and set time aside in order to update and put in patches where you need to be patches, put patches on your system if you're administering any systems. Make sure that's getting done, and refresh employees on the standards and check your system for weakness. And I just want to say one thing about that. Your first line of defense is compliance. If you do not make sure that your employees are compliant, then they're the ones who are opening the door through phishing attacks, through weak passwords, through leaving their system up, and when they leave their workspace, all different type of ways, even if people call you on your phone. So you can get a phishing attack or from social engagement just through people talking to you on the phone and asking questions, pretending to be someone whom they're not, or asking what seems to be innocent questions. That's called social engineering attacks. But the way you prevent all that is simply having brown bag sessions, doing something once a month that talks about these different things so your employees do not open you up to attack. And that's the main thing where you need to focus on.
Great. Howard, because I know you work with a lot of micro businesses and corporations, would you like to comment on this question as well?
I will comment. I'll leave it still at a minimum and looking at the very smallest companies. I am familiar with one company where a number of employees confided in me that someone had stolen that information, particularly their Social Security number, and they were misusing it, either applying for Social Security or some other benefit. And as a result, I realized that though that group of people had also used the same tax consultant to help them complete their tax forms. So with that in mind, I don't know how the information was stolen, but someone had gotten this information, and apparently it was from either the same business or possibly the same tax consultant that these people were using. So it was a small group of people, and they had actually gotten, I think it was Internal Revenue involved in determining the source. There was nothing for me to do at that point, but before it hit those employees, they didn't realize how important it was to protect their information themselves. And then the businesses may not have protected them as well as they should have. And now those were two specific areas that could have been the source, but there may have been other sources where the same group of people lost control of their Social Security numbers. So I just want to share that bit of information as an incident that I'm aware of.
Wow. Great. Mourad, would you like to share an experience that, that's happened in your career or with a company you've worked with?
Sure. So I don't have a specific incident that I can use as an example, of an actual cybersecurity attack. But as a small minority business, you need to think in terms of all potentially disruptive events that may cause damage to your critical assets, and of course impact the continuity of operations of your business. So normally we think of cybersecurity attacks as some event caused by a malicious party. But as I discussed earlier, you really need to think in terms of any event that could affect or even damage your information systems in the sense that I defined earlier. So such an event could well be a cybersecurity attack done by a hacking entity, or it could also be caused by some disaster, including natural disasters, crisis, or some harmful situations caused by people, or even serious environmental incidents. So very common information security incidents that I have experienced in my career include events that I'm sure many of you have experienced, such as downtime of some computing system, application or service, data corruption, compromised computing system caused by malware, also compromised credentials due to social engineering attacks. So we talked about social engineering several times today. Even damage to systems caused by disgruntled employees. I actually had an experience of such an event in one of the companies I work with. So these are common examples that are incidents that can affect the confidentiality, the integrity, or the availability of your information systems. And of course, natural disasters, I mentioned earlier, storms, floods, tornadoes, hurricanes, fires, even earthquakes. So these are all examples of disruptive events caused, so natural events and also events that could be caused by people, as I mentioned earlier, that could disrupt your business. And the major categories of cybersecurity attacks that are the most common and could be relevant to your small business. So depending on your particular industry and mission, include military and intelligence attacks. So if you work in that sector, business attacks. So for example, attacks to steal intellectual property or financial attacks. So these are, of course, attacks to that target financial accounts, ransomware. We mentioned ransomware, and this is an attack that, as you know, injects some extortion malware that can lock your entire organization's computing resources, and then requires a ransom for its release. And of course, this has been in the news lately. And to that, of course, you can add things like terrorist attacks or grudge attacks. Again, these are attacks usually initiated by disgruntled employees or ex-employees of the targeted organization. So some common attack vectors. So attack vectors, this means ways to mount these attacks. So these include things like, so these are technical terms, scanning. So scanning means that the hackers can use some devices to get information from the targeted systems before they can launch an attack that will damage the targeted organization. The other attack vector is compromise. So this means the unauthorized disclosure of information, or the unauthorized modification of information, or some violation of security policy of a system that results in the confidentiality, integrity, or availability of your information systems being endangered. And then, of course, malicious code. So, all sorts of malware that can cause damage to your IT and IS infrastructures. And of course, denial of service. This may be caused. So this is when you lose the access to your services, to your systems, and this may be caused by remote attacks that could bring your whole system into overload, or some software exploits. So these are again like viruses or some malware that are introduced into your network or your computer systems that target your computer systems and cause them to malfunction or crash. So these are all examples, of course, of events, cybersecurity events, attacks that you should be aware of.
Would you say that there's a trend in the sophistication and the frequency of attacks, especially against small businesses? And this question is really to anyone on the panel.
Well, I'll start by saying that this is Howard Holton. I'll start by saying that attacks like these can happen to any business at any size. I think it is important for the smallest of businesses to understand everything in these categories. That is it, Mourad? That's the proper pronunciation for your name?
Yes, yes.
Okay, the way you explained it, in my opinion, is excellent, and is detailed just enough for people to realize that these are areas that they need to consider as they develop their own cybersecurity system. And in my mind, there's some businesses, and I think I said this before, between 1 and 500 employees. The one company could either outsource or contract someone to assist them. They might begin by assigning tasks to one individual, make it part of their task to understand cybersecurity, and grow from there. To me, it's like planting a tree. You have to start somewhere and then grow and understand all of the attack vectors and everything else that's associated with cybersecurity. And you have to start somewhere. That's all I want to add to the fact that these incidents do happen, and companies shouldn't be afraid to dig into a financial attack and understand what happened or how to prevent it from happening to you. Just an example, but that's all I have to say.
Yeah, I think that's a great segue into our next question. We did actually hear some answers to part of this question earlier, but the question is, what should small businesses, especially minority-owned businesses, be doing to protect their companies? And I'd like to start the answer off with Mourad.
So I like to think in terms of a 5-point strategy. So first, you need to recognize that cybersecurity is a continuous effort. So it's critical that there is buy-in and support from your leadership in order for your cybersecurity program to be as effective as it can be. So the bottom line is that you're never going to be at the point where you will just say, okay, we no longer have to worry about cybersecurity. That's because the threats are constantly evolving. And as a small business, you have to evolve as well. And you should always keep in mind the human element. Mentioned that several times, that people make mistakes, and that has to be taken into account. Second, you need to think about information systems and technology governance as a process that applies to small businesses as well. So it's not just for large companies. You may view IT governance as a central process that drives other connected processes, and the proper functioning of IT governance implies that these other connected processes are run effectively. So these are associated with the functional areas of audit control and compliance, risk management, information system security or cybersecurity, and business continuity planning and disaster recovery planning. So that's what these acronyms stand for on the picture, on the diagram. The risk management process on the right, so that deals with assessing risks to the enterprise as a function of a range of threats and vulnerabilities, in assessing the adequacy of existing security controls, and establishing preventive and corrective security controls to secure your critical assets. And of course, you should always conduct regular reviews and tracking. So third, you need to plan for your small business continuity of operations. Continuity of operations should be an effort within your organization to ensure that your mission critical function continues or continue to be performed reliably during a wide range of emergencies. And there are two mechanisms that you can use to address your continuity of operations objectives. So one is through the service level agreements that you have with the various partners and suppliers, and also fault tolerance. And fault tolerance simply means, for a small business, really means that you need to think in terms of backing up your services. So you always have alternatives if one of your main service goes down. And to help us understand the concept of business continuity, you have to consider a role in your organization to represent the stakeholders of your organization. And in this diagram, we have this little character labeled network owner. So this is to represent that role. So an effective IT governance, including business continuity planning and disaster recovery planning, requires that specific roles are defined and assigned to qualified individuals in your organization. Now, for a small business, that may be a single person. So that could be your chief information officer, or if you have one, or it could be your chief technology officer. If your company is large enough, you may even have a designated chief information systems security officer. So you need to have somebody to kind of oversee all these processes, all these aspects of security in your company, even for a small business. So the network owner really is, you may want to look at it as a custodian of the organization's mission critical assets, and has the duty to protect these assets. And so the network owner has to assess the risks. We talked about risks earlier, vulnerabilities and threats, and determines the safeguards. So all the security measures, technical and physical security safeguards, with objective to mitigate these risks. And the risks are assessed by considering potential threat agents. So that means anything that can represent various threats which can exploit vulnerabilities in your organization's environment. And when threats materialize into actual attacks, then of course that's when your organization's critical assets can be compromised. So if these attacks can pass through your security safeguards, they can be successful. So given this context, business continuity planning refers to all the activities that target to maintain the continuity of operations of your organization. Now, so I have two more points. Okay, so fourth, you need to think in terms of your small business defense in depth, DID. And this is simply to apply multiple safeguards. So, we refer to these also as mitigating controls or countermeasures in layers. And this is to protect your critical assets against risks. So an attack going through controls in one layer may be stopped by the controls in subsequent layers. So the commonly accepted model of defense in depth starts with policies and procedures, and then you have, so these are administrative controls, and then the next layer is physical security, and that layer we specify the physical controls. So physical security means protecting your facilities, protecting your physical assets, even having some access control devices to access certain areas if you have buildings as part of your small business. But as you see in this diagram, the policies and procedures and the physical security controls apply to the organization as a whole. So also they apply to each layer in this model. Okay, so so next you have so that really depends on how sophisticated your infrastructure is. You have all these layers in the defense in depth. The fifth component is incident response, and this is a somewhat detailed diagram that we're presenting here. But basically, with incident response, you deal with how to handle events that are harmful to your organization. So the goals of incident response are to restore service safely, to estimate the extent and cost of an incident, identify the sources of attack and their motivation, and of course, deter future events, recover loss, protect your public image. This is very important for a small business or any size company. And of course, conduct due diligence to assume corporate responsibility and increase the understanding of the security landscape, also updating your incident response plan. So many cybersecurity laws, I will mention that as a final comment, already mandate regular updates to your data security program. So you need to be cognizant of that. But in any event, this is just good practice for your small business. And updates should occur in several times on a regular basis, including, for example, if you go through major changes in your infrastructure, or you, as a result of some organizational change, or if you deploy new services, new programs that may affect the privacy of your data for your subjects, your customers mostly, and at least annually to take into account changing laws and regulations. So you need to to track those on a regular basis.
All very, very excellent information, and I'm sure all of our attendees appreciate the thoroughness of your response. And so I would like to give the same question to Mark Cannady. What can small businesses do to protect their businesses against cybersecurity threats?
Thank you. I'm going to just boil it down into two words: take action. And a lot of people will look at cybersecurity and all of this, and listen, you don't have to be an expert. And I found a simple statement out there that I found just looking, how could I explain this easily to anyone, no matter what their level of expertise is? Sit down, try and think as many things as that could happen to you and your company's assets. Spend the money to have a one-time consultation to find out where you're vulnerable. Then take steps to fix those vulnerabilities. Now, does that mean you need to have a CISSP? No. Does that mean you need some certification or you need all this technical capability? No. I'll give you an example. If your pipe is leaking, who comes to take care of that? A plumber, okay? You're not a plumber. You probably don't want to be a plumber. So what you need to do is get the appropriate personnel who can listen to what it is that you have. And simply, my company does a lot of this. We do what's known as vulnerability assessment. That simply means I'm going to go in there, I'm going to sit down with you, I'm going to take a look at the assets that you have from a cybersecurity perspective as far as your information system. And each system is different, but it's easy for someone who's an ISC squared person who has a certified authorization professional, they're called a CAP, and their job is they understand risk management framework. They're able, without having to get into all the specific details of what those certifications are, they're going to sit down and with you as the business owner or the system owner and basically ask questions, look at the information that you have. And then after that, they're going to take that information and they're going to determine what vulnerabilities that you have. But the most important thing that you have to do as a small business owner is you have to take the action. You have to bring the professional in and to go ahead and get the assessment done on your system. And once you get that assessment done, then you're going to get some sort of assessment feedback from that professional, and they're basically going to step you through the process. This is a great chart here for cybersecurity resilience. They're going to take you from step 1, system hygiene, right through to step 7 and getting started and implementing your plan. It's kind of like buying insurance. It's a little ugly in the beginning. You don't quite know. There's all these different programs, but listen, just do it and you'll get it out the way. Buying insurance is not that bad. They ask some basic questions and say, hey, here's what you need. Here's what we need to make sure you're financially secure. It's the same thing with cybersecurity. I try to make it easy for people to understand and for them to realize that they don't need to have all of the cybersecurity expertise, but they need to know who they need to go and talk to in order to make sure their assets are secure, to make sure that their business is going to continue to be prosperous, and more importantly, that your customers' assets are secure. You're able to continue to provide whatever services or products that you're providing with little to no interruption. Simply said. So I just simply tell people, take action. And there's a number of folks who are on this program and other folks who are out there who can help you step through this process. Happy to do so. Oh, this is a great cartoon. I think we need to update our disaster recovery plan. This one suggests we all run around in circles shouting, what do we do? What do we do? Well, that almost applies to anything in business. You need the proper profession to get things done. And what we're here is we're just trying to explain it to you in an in-depth way and then at a very high level so you understand what you need to do, who you need to go and talk to basically take the deep dive if necessary, but provide the professional who's able to keep your business safe. I don't know if there's another chart, but I'll be happy to talk to it.
Well, thank you, Mark, for your very good practical advice for small businesses. And so now I'd like to turn it over to Howard for the last words on this question.
So my last words are going to be, listen to Mark's guidance. Sounds perfectly fine to me. I won't add any confusion to this and we can move forward.
Simple and sweet, thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, I would like to thank everyone for their time. I would like to thank Trina, Mark, Mourad, Holton, Paul, for helping us with the information, as well as helping us tool and arm our small business owners and minority businesses. So thank you all for your assistance.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
And I'd like to just go ahead and thank our sponsors one more time: the Alliance Technology Consortium, the Virginia Chamber of Commerce Foundation, CDP and Associates LLC, and the Fairfax County Economic Development Authority for supporting the Northern Virginia Black Chamber of Commerce. So I just want to thank you all for watching. We have a lot of new events that are coming up. We have a conversation with Department of the Interior. There's a listening session. If you go out to our website, you'll have more detail and the exact link to register for that event. Our Caring Through COVID event is taking place October 19th. We have a fabulous team of members who are in our community, who are here to support business owners. We're going to talk about wellness in the workplace, as well as this is also Mental Health Awareness Month. So we want to be able to support our community in that way. And again, we have an in-person event taking place, which ends our series of our listening tour that takes place on October 21st in Loudoun County. So we look forward to meeting our Loudoun County members and potential members of the chamber. So thank you, everyone. Have a fabulous day.
Thank you.
Thank you very
welcome.
much.
You too.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Sheila.